Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Javeria Sahar from Department of Political Science, and you are welcome to this program that has been organized by our department through the platform of Web TV LCWU. Today we are here to celebrate 75th Independence Day of Pakistan with zest and vigor. Pakistan is 7th nuclear power and 5th largest state in terms of population. We also have enormous natural resources along with immensely applauded beautiful tourism sites. But having said that, Pakistan is facing economic fragility and parochial political culture as viewed by various political thinkers like Dr. Muhammad Wasim, S. Akbar Zaidi, Dr. Adil Najm, and including others. So now the question arises that whether we could be able to attain the real achievement or the independence as envisioned by the founder of the nation, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And to discuss this question, we have with us Dr. Aisha Shehzad, in charge, Department of Political Science, and Dr. Sadia Mahmood Falki, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science. So first, I will move towards Dr. Aisha Shehzad to have her view on this question. Welcome, Dr. Aisha. So what would you like to say?
Thank you, Javeria. I would relate my answer with Sustainable Development Goals set by United Nations to be achieved till 2030. And in this perspective, I think that SDG 4, the quality education, becomes more pronounced. As we know that education nourishes human minds, but unless or until the education system does not produce independent minds having all cognitive capabilities, I think the real spirit of independence can never be preserved. Then we see that the political system performs multifarious functions in every state, but actually it gets its strength from the education system for all political socialization, political recruitment, and interest articulation. And if the education system does not provide this support, the political system as well as the political culture can never flourish, and they compromise the roots of independent nation. Then apart from it, I think the independent nation needs strong institutional foundation and structures in all institutions, because that is very much important to promote positive norms like rule of law. And we all know that socioeconomic symmetries cannot be maintained without distributive justice. And here I must share some statistical data which is quite alarming, especially for Pakistan, that under the Global Index of Judicial Independence, Pakistan is ranked at 120th position out of 128 countries. And similarly, we see that we are having a very low literacy ratio, even in comparison with the neighboring states in South Asian region. So being an independent nation, we need to ensure judicial independence and high literacy ratio. And apart from all these facts, we see that Pakistan also needs to overcome gender disparities. As the founder of Pakistan, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, emphasized that the power of women is more important than the power of pen and the power of sword. So I think all male and female strata of the population in Pakistan must have equitable opportunities. So at the end, I must say that it's not only the responsibility of the institutions, but all the citizens to contain all barriers like traditional orthodoxies, feudal structures, all malpractices, in order to promote sound education system in Pakistan. And last of all, I must wish 75th Independence Day to all our viewers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha, for your comments. And now I will move towards Dr. Sadia Mahmood Falki. Yes, Dr. Falki, how would you like to comment on that?
Thank you very much, Javeria. I would like to extend Dr. Aisha's argument that education is one of the crucial factors for securing public policy and developmental goal in Pakistan. The quality of education in any country is very much crucial, important, and vital for the progressive society, because the nature of education helps individual to use logic and rationality while making decisions and interacting with people. For example, it can boost creativity. It can help individuals to learn about the time management skills. It can also help them to employ a conflict resolution mechanism to manage the disagreement. And but the problem with education is that it itself cannot be useful and reform based until or unless it is focused and goal oriented. So, in the case of Pakistan, I would like to suggest two key approaches which must be included into education process. The first one is definitely the material one, like spending more on education sector. Because in case of Pakistan, historically, Pakistani government spent on education sector less than 2%. And if you see the current spending of 2021 and 22 fiscal year, it is just 1.7%. According to the global requirement as per United Nations and framework of action of 2030, the minimum criteria of spending on education from the GDP of any country is minimum 4%. So we need to enhance the resource allocation on education sector. Definitely it will more increase on literacy rate, and legislators, community stakeholders, and the member from civil society can press the government for increasing that ratio, but definitely it will more provide results in the form of increasing literacy rate. So here it is important to consider that only increasing literacy rate alone cannot help you, because there is need to work on the content as well. And we need to see carefully that what kind of ingredients are needed to in our education sector to make it more meaningful and more useful and focused. So I will suggest 4 elements which I think at every level, whether it is school education or college level or university level or higher education, these 4 factors should be included into education. The first is the sense of belonging. That is basically a connection between classroom and the community, because until or unless you do not realize that you are part of the community and you relate to that society, and you do not own that society and state, you will not be able to provide a constructive contribution to that. Like if we are living in Punjab, and Punjab is the most populous population, and someone coming from Sindh, KPK or Balochistan, and they are having their own traditional values, cultural patterns. So despite the fact that they are different from us in different manners, but we own them as a part of our community. And when we own them, they also realize that they are part of this society, and then there would be a notion of collective good. And on next stage, after developing that sense of belonging, which definitely involves acceptance of individual into that society, then respect and regard to their values and their cultural beliefs, then inclusion into the process, and then learning in a sportive environment. So that sense of belonging basically involves 3 steps. First is engagement, the second is learning, and third is the productivity. So on next stage, we can incorporate another element into education process, that is education on citizenship. Because in the backdrop of pandemic, inequalities, climate change, cyberbullying, misinformation on internet, we need more informed and empowered citizen. Because as a human, we are not born knowing what is democracy, how it works, how to be good and great citizens. So we need to know that how can democracy serve everyone. So we need to develop a thoughtful, committed and just mindset which can think independently and logically. So that citizenship or education on citizenship can increase the value of rule of law, where every would be equal apart from their socio-economic status, their cultural, territorial background and their religious beliefs. So on third level, a very crucial factor is important to incorporate into the education process, that is empathy. Empathy basically helps us to comprehend and react to others, how they perceive and they feel. Because if someone is from a privileged class, privilege not in the sense of material sources, but because if I am living in a developed province and I have a road, I have public hospital, public institutions, I have those facilities where I can excel as a person. Those are also privileges. So if I'm a person from privileged class and there are a person coming from underdeveloped areas, so I cannot deny that they are not suffering because I did not experience the pain. So empathy basically connects us with the society. It develops the deep social relationship that there are marginalized class, there are people different from us in the terms of culture, religion, in the terms of maybe dressing, they are different, but they are part of our community and we can feel their pain and we can understand and we can acknowledge, we can care, we can listen, because in empathy listening is very much important, because if people have grievances, concerns, you can listen them and you can calm down, then you can acknowledge their suffering, then you can care about showing different small steps in a society, and then you can collectively take action. So sense of belonging, then knowledge on citizenship and empathy will develop a collective good. Like what is collective good? It can be a garden where every can enjoy the flowers, the environment, the weather, the birds, apart from their cultural, socio-economic differences. So when these three elements will be included into education process, there will be definitely more margin for collective good and citizen will be more able to participate in that. Last but not the least is the mental health, which is the most ignored part of education process, because mental health is directly linked with the physical health. It is a fact that at public sector universities and at private institutions, we do have certain centers and platforms where students can take help regarding their mental health, but most of them are working as formalities. So the mental health issues and awareness about mental health must be the part of curriculum, because we know that youngsters are generally pressurized by the peer pressure or by different trends or flow of information. So we need to include certain materials, certain strategies that how they can learn to tackle with that stress. And that is very much important. And I think these strategies will work. Thank you very much. Long live Pakistan.
Thank you, Dr. Sadia, for your comprehensive answer. And I would like to conclude that there is a dire need to not only highlight the problems, but to find the solutions and design policy proposals according to that and to implement them as well. And having said that, I would pray that may Pakistan make progress by leaps and bounds with every passing day. Thank you very much. Pakistan, Zindabad.
हमारा परचम